With a visionary leading the charge, this company is literally bringing futuristic electric vertical takeoff and landing aircrafts to today, or in a different name, the first real flying cars. Let me introduce Doroni Aerospace. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Builder Nation. Today, we are joined by Doron Merdinger, CEO and founder at Doroni Aerospace. Doron, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us today. Could you please introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, thank you, Sam. My name is Doron Merdinger. I'm the founder of Doroni Aerospace. We started basically 2016 when this is just, really the beginning as a home project, garage project, and we scaled up and looking forward for a very interesting future.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. Now, before we jump actually into the actual company and into everything, I wanted to talk a little bit about you. Now, you have military experience, education in business, and a history in product development. How did you land on drones and in these more futuristic flying cars? How did you land here?
So I think the important part, or the initial part, started as a kid, right? I mean, all the wonders of the world is in the kid's mind and vision, and it's always an inspirational thing. So me growing up on the Star Wars, on the Fifth Element, on even before that, Chitty Bang Bang, which is maybe the first flying car. I remember. So maybe now you guys know a little bit how old I am. But all the futuristic movies and all those science fiction really created that space for people like me to be enthusiastic and understand that this is a future that is happening.
All right. Well, I cannot say I'm not a nerd myself in regard to Star Wars and everything. I'm a huge fan of that. So I really like how you sort of followed through on, I would call, every kid's dream in a sense. That's amazing. Mm-hmm. Now, before moving forward, I also wanted to ask you about your website specifically in the Our Story section. Now, I have to say I was a really huge fan of this section on your website, which sort of tells a story precisely about why Doroni is important, why you do what you do. Could you please tell us a little bit how you found that path when you founded Doroni? Yeah,
so I think one of the key important part was that the first understanding how a drone works, a quadrocopter. So at the beginning, I was just one time stuck in a traffic jam, and this is really the inspirational point that I saw this kid playing with a drone, a quadrocopter, and I saw how accurate, agile, and very simple to use this machine. And the question for me was, why aren't we going to, we're scaling this one up, right? It's just scale it up. Obviously, it's much, more complex just to scale it up. It has to, there's the multiple things going into it, specifically when you're introducing human payload, if you will, or the pilots inside. So I was interested, and then I started, understanding the systems involved in that, researching a lot, reached out, starting basically forming the team. I had a vision at that point to do a single seat. And we reached out to starting, to Japan, to Australia, to Ukraine, obviously US, and find those like-minded people, enthusiastic. I call them, in a way, they're anarchists, skunk works type of people. And this is how we started with making those designs and iterations and build up those things. Yeah.
That's actually a pretty cool story. And it sort of triggers another question for me. How did you originally pitch the idea of these actual flying cars to these people? I mean, were they a little skeptic at first or something alike?
So the actual team, they ask a little bit of questions, but you're building on a vision and enthusiastic in the belief of those team members. So it has to have a click right from the start. If people are skeptical and working with you, it will be very hard almost impossible to work. So the way I work with people is I first see their enthusiasm, and this is how I'm building also myself. So this is the type of communication we're creating. So there are a lot of people, very talented people, very able people, but they're not so enthusiastic, and so I couldn't create some sort of a good rapport with them. I always believe to work with, I call it leading horses, rather than trying to wake up dead people, right? I'm not a saint. I'm not Jesus. I can't wake up, dead people. This is not my ability, but I'm able to harness the power of, leading horses and work with them. And I see myself as a sort of a facilitator, a person who knows how to identify talents and know how to work with them to help them achieve the best of their abilities.
I really like that analogy. Thank you very much for that. It's pretty cool. Now let's dive right into the actual product, into what you actually do. Could you please give us an overview of the H1 aircraft?
Right. So an H1 it's the shortcut of a hummingbird. So think about a hummingbird, how accurate, how agile, how quick, how nimble it is. This is we basically scaling it up. So the H1 is a personal two-seater eVTOL, electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicle. So it's up to 500-pound payload, including the passengers, which allows you to have two with a suitcase or with some sort of a weight with you. It's for short missions. At this point, we know about 60 miles, nautical miles. Probably you're going to reach close to 100 once we start delivering. All electric, multiple redundancies. We have 10 motors on board, so 8 for vertical, 2 pushers in the back. What you see, I don't know if you guys can see behind me, this is an audio video, but we already are very progressed with our go-to-market product design, which is more aerodynamic efficient. So this is in the charge and park in the 2-car garage for personal use. It's to be certified as an LSA light sport aircraft type. So at the beginning, we will fly more rural or less populated, the suburbs of the city rather than the main city, because we are shying away from major airports. Our comfortable flight level is a couple of hundred feet, up to 1,000, like a helicopter. The Doroni H1 can reach 8,000, but we are more comfortable at the lower level because of the energy that it will take going up. Think about it, if you compare it to a car, the most energy a car will require is starting from 0 to 10 miles an hour from standstill. So going up takes more, and transition is more efficient. Because of our design, we have ducted fans and also embedded in with wings. We are very efficient transitioning for forward flight. Also it gives us more time as far as safety features. The Doroni also have a carbon body cockpit fuselage. It's also called a monocoque, like in Formula One. So it's a shell that protects the passengers. If you compare it to an aviation, most of the general aviation are using aluminum. This is more rigid, stronger, lighter, more efficient. And also we have redundancies with the propellers. Should one propeller will stop working in each duct, we have 4 ducts. So up to 4, we can still control and land safely. So this helps the ducted fans with the wings helps a lot in terms of level of noise, both in decibels and frequency. Also more efficient lift because it's ducted. And third, obviously, it's safety. If you want to fly and use it for personal use, I can't imagine having those propellers or blades turning they're made from carbon fiber. They turn a couple of thousands of RPM. So and because it's electric, you're not going to hear them. You're probably not going to even see them. So people can get hurt, kids that come home or animals. So these are ducted, these are enclosed, encapsulated, and also for bird strike, once you fly, this will reduce the possibility of birds. So these are patented ducted fans and embedded in the wings, and very efficient. So if everything else fails as well, we have a ballistic parachute on board that will land the whole aircraft. So there's multiple things. We believe we're making one of the more safest aircraft out there for general aviation. Personal use, yeah.
Now that's amazing. Actually, I have quite a few questions around the whole H1, but I want to start off by the very beginning. You very recently celebrated 50 official successful test flights, right? I mean, of course, this follows the safety that you're actually trying to follow here. How is the development going into maybe a more of an end stage production for the H1? How is that going so far?
So what we did is we basically built the H1P1, which is the first full-size prototype of this two-passenger. This is kind of was the sandbox to check the systems, battery, motors, flight control systems, and so we are able to fly. We did the multiple fly over 50 test flights. The idea, because this flies like a drone, so the most important part really is the ability to stabilize it, to make that thing, controllable and stay put in the air, right? And I can say that one of the biggest challenges is to fly such a big vehicle inside a building and our facility indoors, because you have a lot of turbulences coming from the ground, ceiling, and walls, and this will be done successfully. So we're tuning that system at this as we go. We are in the tuning stage, so we're doing pretty good. Parallel to that, we are already in the very progressed design for the P2, which is, as I mentioned, a go-to-market product. It will be improved in terms of aerodynamics. So we're changing the configuration in terms of the type of systems that we have inside, improving the motors, improving the autopilot, improving batteries, everything else, and basically working more on the requirements on how does it feel to be a pilot there? What exactly would I like to see, feel, sound levels inside the cockpit, multiple things which are working on the details. This is honestly more than, people see it and say, okay, I can get from point A to point B, will be very easy, and this is, no traffic. But this is really not the most important part personally for me. For me, it's all about experiencing, because today, you take a car and you say, what, I want to get from point A to point B as soon and painless as possible. And, you can thinking about it, okay, wow, the traffic, blah, blah, blah. And even if you go to an airport, you take a flight, the hectic there. So this, it's not only, faster, but more important is the experience. You're going to be immersed in nature. You're going to enjoy everything around you. You're flying at the level of a drone, couple of 100 feet. And if you just imagine, the best videos and images today are shot by drones. So you're going to be part of nature without need to destroy nature or making those horrible noises and fumes. And you don't need any runway because you're going vertically. So this is a game changer in all aspects of it.
Honestly, it's an amazing idea. And I following this topic of this experience, one of your main points is that you want the H1 to be able to be flown by anybody with a driver's license, plus just a very quick sort of a course, right? A training course. How challenging was it to bring the experience of driving a regular car into driving these eVTOLs?
So my analogy is I'm looking at the progression, the natural progression of technologies as we know today. So, for me, this is I'm looking at it as a three-dimensional elevator, essentially, because it's very accurate in how it flies, vertically and horizontally. So if I take that and I go backwards in time, probably 160, 170 years ago, when the first elevator was introduced, you had to have almost an engineer type of guy that will just, pull all the pulleys and levers and all these instruments just to facilitate going to a different floor, and how complicated it was, right? Today, just type in the floor that you want to go from the outside, and you go there. So this is really how this is, we're shaping up. So we're used to driving in a two-dimensional world in a way that we are avoiding obstacles all around us. There are multiple of obstacles, and there's an interaction between people, pedestrians, and vehicles. So it's already a problematic situation. This is probably part of the reason that AI is now working so good, because there are multiple of challenges that the system have to lose. When we go into a three-dimensional world, there are less obstacles out there. And even if they are, you can see them from far away, and there's you have different dimensions or different routes that you can take to avoid them. You can go up and down, right? You can pitch your roll. I mean, you can do multiple of things which you cannot do in a regular car once you're already in the trajectory. So here we have a technology that will able to facilitate also a safer way to transform. And we already know that the NASA, FAA are working. I mean, until now, you would fly something that's called IFR, which is instrument flying rules, or VFR, visual flying rules. Now they're working something called DFR, digital flying rules. So in each machine like that, you want to have like sort of a homing device that will know exactly its location in the three-dimensional world. And the FAA is already, managing traffic in the sky for aircraft, thousands of them. So, it's another level just to do the others. And there's already a lot of companies who are certifying their system through the FAA to get that acceptance. So, it's not just us, it's a growing, it's a growing public acceptance, because the technology already permits that. We already have that. We're already showing that we're flying. So now is, how do we integrate that? What is the best package to go to the market? And until now, most of the hype was what was called an air taxi, which is a very, very expensive aircraft, 6 million, 7 million a piece, and certification is problematic. In our case, we're going on something called LSA light sport aircraft, which is now ongoing under revision. You'll need to have a pilot license, but it's a pilot license specifically tailored for this vehicle. And until now, the LSA category, it was a 20-hour course that you do on that vehicle itself, specifically in the factory premises. 15 hours of course plus 5 hours of solo. Now, this is for regular single engine aircraft in LSA. This is already a complicated aircraft to manage because it has a combustion engine and the way it flies. In our case, the way it flies, it's, forgive me saying, it's even stupid simple. We just took it, we made it, this complex machine so simple, so 3 clicks of a button, you're already flying. And you don't need us to understand that this is happening. Just look at the drones, how easy to control and maneuver them. What we're doing with H1 is even easier to control than a regular drone, because you have just one stick and very intuitive. You go forward, backward, left, right. You don't have to be a genius. And you run all the diagnostics right from the start, so you know exactly how your system, what's going on with it. And also, if there's a problem, you'll know before you fly and during flight, so you can manage it. And there are, as I said, multiple redundancies in there.
It's honestly amazing. I mean, I understand a little bit about how, the training for a pilot, for example, for a commercial pilot. I understand that the hours they have to fly are hundreds, and it's amazing that you only have to fly 20 to be able to fly these specific aircrafts, and even less for your own course. It's honestly amazing. Now, you very quickly mentioned some certifications on the FAA, and I read on Web Report that your H1 is one of the eVTOLs that is currently certified under the FAA ultralight category. Correct? Could you please tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So it's not accurate. It's called LSA light sport aircraft. There are 3 main categories for the LSA. For eVTOLs, electric vertical takeoff. The biggest one that, as I said, made the hype is the air taxi. Air taxi is a big machine, goes into an airport. The complexities are very, huge in terms of how to build it, also how to fly it, and you also take passengers. So it's, it makes that risk higher into going to an airport, a major airport. The other side of it is ultralight. It's a single seat, just go up like a joyride. You can't do anything commercial with that. What we're doing is we're shooting for an LSA, Launchpad Aircraft Type Certification. This is where we targeted. We already started, working, engaged the FAA. And we're also waiting for the rules that it's called Mosaic rules to be introduced. These are new rules, guidelines for the LSA category that as we know, are about to include the eVTOL category, as they are already doing in Europe, the EASA, which is the European counterpart.
All right. Okay. That's a very cool difference to learn. Thank you very much for clarifying that for us. Now, let's move into a whole different section of your company, which is the way that you raise money, basically, right? I've seen that you are big on crowdfunding, and you recently opened a new investment opportunity for accredited investors. So could you please give us a bit of a deeper dive into that side?
Right. So we raised in 14 months $3.6 million, what's called Reg CF under crowdfunding. We understood we were approached by angel investors and big at the beginning after we won second place at the Florida Aerospace and Aviation Forum. But they were very savvy in terms of the market or the share that they wanted to take from the company. So we went crowdfunding, and then we, as I said, we completed, and then we started Reg D. So basically, accredited investors, people who I think are making about over $200,000 or $300,000 a year, can invest in Doroni Aerospace and be part of the company, and they can do it on our website. There's a process, but it's totally regulated. And we have all, the file, I think it's called PPM, all the documents they're showing exactly where we are, what we're offering. It's for preferred stock. So invest according to, you basically buy stock of the company, own part of the company. So this is what we're offering now. And we're starting to pick up, and it seems to be very promising as we see.
Yeah, and I mean, I can understand why crowdfunding worked so well for you guys, because who doesn't want to be part of history in building flying cars, right? Which is amazing. Now, yeah. I want to ask you something more or less related to the fact that you're the CEO of this important company, right? Although you're small in size, you have R&D, you have investments, you have a recent $3.5 million successful funding. You raised that money. You have engineering, you have certifications, you have a lot on your plate. How do you keep supply chain and procurement and the ordering of pieces tight and in order so that it doesn't sort of affect the whole flow?
Yeah, so everything is about it's a good question. Everything is about cash flow. Because we are a small company, tight company, what we do is we have a core team, but we outsource a lot of things, and we are obviously outsourced according to our cash flow. But the brain of the company is here, and we are constantly evaluating and checking, where we are in terms of development, in terms of procuring. So it's an ongoing, all the time task to do. It's just like almost every day we're checking it. Once we're getting bigger funds, we're able to scale up more. This is how this process is done as a startup company, obviously.
Right. Well, thank you very much for that insight. I mean, it's just that honestly, it seems like such hard work, right? But you certainly seem to love what you do, which is amazing. Now, I believe we're reaching the close of this, but before I do, I wanted to ask you, over the last 7 years that Doroni Aerospace has existed, that you have funded this, I assume you've been through some really important ups and downs. What has been maybe one of the biggest challenges that you have faced over the course of these years that you are so proud to have overcome?
It's again another good question. I think every entrepreneur goes through a hero's journey, right? That's hero's journey. Every person goes through his own hero's journey. Obviously, an entrepreneur is doing that as well. So I think the biggest challenge is always dealing with your challenges, your personal challenges, with overcoming those fears, those questions, everything that the mind is opening, and also understand to evaluate the good opportunities, which one is a good opportunity and which road to take, and also work with your team and explain that. But for me, working with people, it's the easier part. I love working with talented and smart people, so I found that very fulfilling for me personally. This is how I'm looking at life in general. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you very much for that. And now my final question, which I believe is the perfect follow-up to this super cool answer you just gave us, is if you have any advice that you could give to any young entrepreneurs, engineers, or just people interested in tech who might be starting their own journey in this industry.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think what can I say different than people who are bigger than me and more, successful than me, obviously said. I don't know if I will say, trying to fulfill your aspiration or going all the way through what you believe in is really the way that I believe in doing that, obviously. But remember, this is not just a financial or personal, goal. It will check your characters also. So it will test your characters. And I think the transition that one will go through that is basically the more important one. Like, how do you see yourself when you're making decision, when you are, when you're standing in front of people and talking to them, how honest and truthful and strong will you be able, even in the hard times and the easy times, it's a challenge, always a challenge. So go through that way, you have to start with something that you believe in and do. Because if you don't believe in don't even start, it really, sometimes it doesn't even matter if you had prior knowledge or not, because it's the passion that really keeps you driving forward. That's my 2 cents here. I hope I was able to answer those questions.
It was a great answer. Thank you very much for that. And I believe it is the perfect way to give a closure to this episode. So Doron, thank you very much for being here, for sharing your experience, your thoughts, your journey. Where can we find you? Where can we find Doroni Aerospace? Do you have any social media handles?
Yeah, we first of all, obviously, the website is doroni.io, doroni.io. You can find us a lot of places on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. I think these will be the 3 main ones that we are. You can find us.
All right, that is perfect. Thank you very much, everybody. Go follow them because they're doing some amazing flying cars. I just like to call them flying cars. So remember, guys, that you can find more information, interesting articles, and more interviews directly on our website, controlhub.com/builder-nation. We're going to love to hear from you. Thank you very much for being part of this community. We're going to see you the next episode. And Doron, thank you very much for joining us. It's been a big pleasure.
Pleasure, Sam. Thank you so much. Thank you.
When building the future is your priority, tedious procurement processes should be last on your list. The problem is that purchasing data is scattered across spreadsheets, receipts, emails, and messages. Tracking it all sucks and makes it easy to commit mistakes. Introducing the Control Hub Way, the all-in-one purchasing software for hardware companies. Buying parts, services, or office supplies? Submit a quick purchase request to buy from your list of approved vendors, or buy from a new provider. Buying from approved vendors is even easier. Import your shopping cart directly into your purchase request using our checkout integrations. When the order is ready, submit it for approval. We'll ping all pre-designated approvers both via Control Hub's website, email, and Slack notifications for a faster turnaround. If you need a PO, we got you. Generate it in 1 click. Online purchase? Boom, virtual card. Do an automatic 3-way match, pay invoices, and sync everything live with QuickBooks or NetSuite. Purchasing just got a lot easier. Control Hub. Get back to building.